Welcome to the Your Audio Solutions Podcast, episode 20. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. However you're consuming this podcast, it's great to have you here today. I hope you are doing well. Today, I want to tell you a story I read about, or I read in Reddit, on Reddit. It's not your usual success story. It's actually a story about not failure, but reaching for your goals and not really making it. It was a fascinating story. I'm going to try to tell it to you the best way I can. But before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about a free guide you can download right away. It's called 3 Tested Ways to Increase Your Client Base. And I made this guide for home studio owners or freelancers or people who work in studios who want to increase their client base. And in this guide, you can learn how I have built profitable relationships, how I contact bands online, how to earn more money, and all those sort of things. And I think you're going to find it very useful and valuable. So download it now. It's free, link below, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. But let's get into the story. So this guy, he was born in Bulgaria. His dream was to become a producer doing hip-hop and beats, basically. He managed to convince his parents to let him go to US to study music. But honestly, he didn't want to go there for the study. It was more to pursue his dream of becoming a producer. He found a college in California. And after his studies, he found an internship in a studio who was doing mostly TV and film cues in North Hollywood. He was there for around 7 months, and after that, they wanted to help him get a visa and also start paying him. But unfortunately, he couldn't get a visa due to the study he had taken. It was an AA, not a BA. Not sure the difference there, but that's why he couldn't get a work visa. And up to this point as well, his parents had supported him studying and living in US, basically. But he got fired from the studio he was working in due to misunderstanding. But he wasn't discouraged because there was also a big name producer who was interested in his work, in his beats, basically. But that didn't pan out, unfortunately. And at this point, his parents didn't want to support him any longer. They didn't want to help him live over in America anymore. And the studio he got fired from, it was due to misunderstanding. So they invited him to come back and work for them, but he declined. And also, since he only had a few months left on his visa, he tried with his musician friend to rent an office space because that was cheaper than renting a flat, I guess. But it didn't pan out, unfortunately, so he decided to move back to Bulgaria because he had no choice. Back in Bulgaria, he was living with his parents, but he was feeling quite depressed and working in meaningless jobs, not really doing anything with his music. And he decided to move to Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, but he was working as a receptionist at a local gym there, wasn't really doing anything with his music at this point. But in Sofia, he found an ad for a job working for a record label in their studio. He got the job, but he didn't last very long, unfortunately. But in his time there, he managed to produce 2 songs that were quite successful. One song had 5 million views on YouTube, another one had 1 million, and they also got some radio and TV airplay, basically. But since it didn't last for very long, he quit, started feeling depressed again, stopped doing music, and started working meaningless jobs again. However, he met a friend, and they decided to start an independent label together, and at this time, his parents believed in him more because of his success with those 2 songs from the previous studio job he had. And his dad was now a doctor, so he had money to help him, and he wanted to give him an apartment. But rather than using this money for an apartment, he decided to invest that in his label and start a studio with his friend. They also found an artist who was supposed to be their big moneymaker, so to speak. So they invest a lot of money in that project, shooting videos and that sort of things. But again, unfortunately, nothing happened. And they were left feeling quite discouraged at this point. Unfortunately, at this point in time, his mom had got cancer, and he knew she was on her way out. But despite that, they managed to release their artist's music, and they hired a PR agency, spent a lot of money on Facebook, Instagram ads, YouTube ads. But again, nothing came from that. And again, left discouraged from their situation. He had also heard that his music would do better in America or internationally. But with no avenues to push his music through, he decided again to spend his money on YouTube ads. And again, nothing came from it. But despite this situation, they managed to release a second song and a second video from the female artist they had signed. And he said, I'm quoting here, I spent some money and the video got some views, but it really didn't go anywhere. People didn't seem to respond much to it. At this point, the people around me and myself were getting pretty discouraged of the whole thing, but I still had some money, but I wasn't sure what to do. Unfortunately, when his mom passed away, he decided to write and release his own song. It was nothing he thought he could do. For example, like write a full melody and lyric and sing or rap. Unfortunately, his mom eventually passed away, and he set the goal of releasing his own music. It was nothing he thought he could do. For example, write melody or sing or rap. But he managed to make a full song, and he made a small art video and released it on YouTube. Again, he spent his money on ads. That's a common thread through his story, I think. He spent money on ads, but even though he didn't get a lot of views from it, people seemed to like the song he did. So he decided to do another song, and this time shoot a more proper video of it, and release it a month apart, the two songs, with videos. He used whatever money he had left on ads to promote these two videos. But when the money ran out and he asked his dad for more, he said, you got to take care of it yourself. And that's where the story ends. It ends with him saying, so this is where I am now. I just released my second video. It has 2,000 views and mostly dislikes. I have very little money left and I'm starting a job on Monday at a small restaurant. So it's quite a fascinating story in the sense that he really went for it. He was really passionate about doing music. He took big chances. He moved to US. It didn't work out. His parents did support him with money, and maybe that's a good or bad thing. Maybe he used that money in the wrong way. Maybe he shouldn't have used it on ads only. Maybe there are smarter ways to spend your money. I think there is, but again, he took chances and he dreamt big, but I don't want to say he failed, but it didn't pay off the way he wanted to. And that's why I wanted to share this story, because these stories are important to hear, because not every story is a success. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to, basically. And there were some comments I saw from this thread on Reddit that I wanted to discuss with you, because I think they're important. And one was saying, is it worth pursuing your dream when the chances are so slim? You know, is it worth spending all that money not knowing if it's going to pay off? And my opinion, this is just my opinion, is if it is your dream and you're really passionate about it, you should definitely pursue it. But maybe be a bit smarter about it. Don't spend all your money promoting your stuff on ads. Maybe if you have wanted to buy a flat, buy the flat and use that as a way not to have to spend money on rent, for example. You're more safe that way, but don't necessarily spend it on ads, especially if you don't know how ads work, I think. read up about it first. Read about how Google ads work. Read how Facebook ads work, because then I believe you can target your money better. But I don't think it's a way to not pursue your dream. You just have to be smart about it, and yeah, don't spend all your money on ads. That's my point of view on that. Another comment was, what if it's a nightmare that turns your passion into a grind? Calling it a nightmare might be a bit harsh, but it can definitely feel like a grind. Especially when you're starting out, when you do a lot of work and nothing is really paying off. That's when I believe your passion can feel like a nightmare and you just feel like you're grinding and nothing is happening. But when you hear about other people's stories who actually made it, like Greg Wells or Vance Powell a bit, and I bet there are tons of other stories like this, is they never gave up. They never gave up, even when it felt the hardest at the beginning, the first, I don't know how many years, let's say first 5, 6, 7, 10 years before stuff started to happen. They still did it. They still pursued their dream. Even though it felt like shit and it was a grind, they powered through somehow. And I think that's sort of what it takes in this industry, is not to give up, even though it might take longer than you want it to be. It's really important. Just be calm and be patient about it. And this actually leads to my other point in this conversation. I know I talked about it in another episode of the podcast, but you have to be able to adopt and what's the word I'm looking for? Adopt and diversify to your surroundings, basically. So if you're feeling like it is a grind, your music is not getting heard, your beats are not selling, or you cannot mix any bands, you're not getting a job at the studio, you have to look at your situation and see what you can do to turn it around. And not give up, basically. Say, what can you do to turn your situation around? What else can I make money on that is within the same umbrella, so to speak? So audio, if you're doing audio, what else can you do in audio besides mixing artists? Well, maybe you can do live sound, or maybe you can do music for sync purposes, or music for anything else. I don't know, something else. I know big names who have done this and who had to diversify to eventually achieve their goal. Andrew Schweppes did that, Vance Powell did that, and I mean, they're heroes of mine, people I look up to. Maybe there are people you look up to. At some point, they had to diversify before they can get to where they wanted. And it's so important. And, it can also feel like a great achievement being able to do audio for a living, even though it's not exactly the way you set out to do in the beginning. You can still feel like a great achievement being able to make a living from music or audio. It doesn't matter which area it might be. As long as you're doing and making a living from it, you're learning and becoming better, you can still try to achieve your main goal. So don't give up, even though it feels like a grind. Diversify, it's important. I also want to talk about what is a realistic goal to set for yourself. Because you have to define what success is for you. Because I know for some people, success is to be able to come home after work, doing music with no pressure of making a living from it, no pressure of getting followers, no pressure of spending money on ads, no pressure of having people hearing about it. They just come home and enjoy playing music. And that's very admirable and something very freeing, having that opinion, actually. Sometimes I would like to have that mentality of just having a job and be able to go home and enjoy doing whatever I want to enjoy with with no pressure of having to succeed and becoming rich or making this much money. There's something freeing about that. So yeah, define what success is for you, because maybe for you to feel satisfied and successful, You don't need 1,000 or 1,000,000 followers, that listens to your music, or 1,000,000 bands that want you to mix their album. Define what success is to you, I think, is really important. It might free you up in ways you wouldn't think about. But that's pretty much it for today's episode. I hope it was inspiring in some ways, and I hope you enjoyed the story, even though I might not be the best storyteller. But it was a powerful story to read. And if you like this podcast, feel free to give a rating, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up wherever you're listening, watching. And don't forget to download your free guide, 3 tested ways to increase your client base. Link below. Have some cool interviews coming your way. Hopefully they're gonna be done sooner than later. And you'll see about that here on our podcast on the website. So I hope I see you guys soon, next week. Until then, take care.